because they have been busy building camps in the area. Camps big enough to house 700 FEMA employees.
Yes.
But we were just wondering what it is y'all are doing, and because FEMA's had, they said they were pulling out because of militia and stuff, which that was debunked. So we just want to get the truth out because people are kind of like all over the place.
Understood. Yes. Yes, definitely understandable. We are definitely not pulling out. We are actually building this for our responders, for FEMA responders, other federal agencies. We have several of these sites around the area to help volunteer agencies as well that need lodging, that are coming in to help the survivors in the local area.
Okay.
So that's what this is being stood up for.
So this will be for the folks that have lost everything, they need a place to stay kind of thing?
This is for the responders that are helping those folks.
Okay.
We are building these to stay out of the local hotels so that the responders, so that the survivors have the ability to stay in the local hotels.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Now, is there money being provided to the survivors to accommodate hotel or?
Yes, there is. That is not my area. That's our individual assistance and the whole other side of FEMA.
Okay.
Our focus is really on this side to try to do the back end support for the operation.
And so how many responders will you house here, and how long do you think your response will be?
We're building this to come up to 700 people.
Okay.
And right now, how long it's going to be, we are unsure.
Okay.
It's a really unknown number for us at this point.
They're going to be there long enough to require tornado shelters.
Tornado shelters, yes.
Are you all expecting tornadoes here?
We are not expecting tornadoes. Part of the package that goes out is to ensure that all the responders are safe.
Right.
And there's nowhere for people to take cover here. So it's just part of the operation that goes out.
And they're building at least 2 more just like it.
Okay. Are you building another camp like this somewhere in North Carolina?
We do have another one. We actually have one in Flat Rock.
In Flat Rock,
yes.
Okay.
And then we're putting another one up in Wilkes County.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yep. So we are trying to ensure that there is coverage in the areas that were most heavily damaged.
Why they are building these camps is yet to be discovered.
Hey friends, so it is day 3 of me recording this video. And I'm going to do what I've done in some of my past videos when I've just been filming a bunch of random things going on because we've been working at a super fast pace, building out our sheds and doing a lot of things. There's a lot going on. I'm going to do a recap at the beginning of this. But the video you just saw, we need to discuss this because, and I'm not, obviously, didn't put any makeup on here. I'm not going to do any fancy edits to try and keep your attention where things are moving. I just need everyone who's listening to lean in, be in prayer, and really understand the brokenness of this situation, in my opinion. Totally broken. So we're on week 5. We're rolling into week 6. The boots on the ground, the people you're going to see in this video are volunteers. We've been dealing with volunteers from day 1. It has been volunteers and locals who have dug these houses out of muck. And now we know that it is dangerous. The toxicity reports of the mud are coming out. It's pretty interesting. There's definitely 2 dangerous chemicals in the mud. They tested 133. I believe there's way more than that. It's very easy to determine which things you're going to test for, knowing they're probably not going to be there. We have a chemical industry that allows 1,600 different chemicals just into our farming practices. So to test 133 different things, it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion, and isn't an accurate interpretation. I can tell you firsthand, we've had some weird things going on. I have one person in the family who had a very bizarre illness come up. I handle things naturally, but I will go in and have medical professionals put eyes on things if I'm uncertain what I'm dealing with, or if I just want to make sure I'm not missing something that is potentially really dangerous. I took this person in, and I will tell you, 2 people, medical professionals, came in with kind of a shock and awe look, and completely unfamiliar and unaware of what was going on. there were some assumptions I had already made. They honestly don't add up, because the things that they were assuming are highly contagious things if it was viral, and no one else is presenting these particular symptoms. Me personally, I was at church yesterday and my pastor handed me something to read, and I was like, this hurricane has made me blind. And that is something I keep saying, like, my vision is not great right now. I have some things I'm going to work on for that. And I am going to make a 4-week series in my membership community, and I'll share a video here too, just on our home apothecary. So we're about to do some serious herbal work to get our health back in order here. So I don't believe much of what's coming out of that report, but even if it was true, there's still 2 very toxic things that were presented in the mud. And the problem is the mud is now dust, because we haven't had rain in 36 or 37 days. I think we're at 37 days now. It is cloudy today, and we got some funky clouds. My daughter filmed them on the way to school. We've had clear blue skies, and if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And then yesterday they weren't. There were lots of trails. And then today we had these bizarre clouds, and now we're cloudy. I hear there's rain coming. This does not look like rain to me. This just looks like cloud cover for the day. So 37 days in a temperate rainforest with no rain is unheard of. And I showed you guys my car on the last video on what the dust is doing to our vehicles just living. And so there's that update. So because I'm doing the sheds and I'm connecting to particular families, I don't know how much I want to get into. Here's the thing. So FEMA can give $42,500 maximum for destruction. And that is like your house is gone. People who have destroyed homes, like gutted from the ground up to the ceiling, but the actual structure is still standing, I know have gotten about 30,000 in the under 35s. There is also funds on top of that for belongings up to the amount of $42,500. Now here's the problem with that particular amount. First off, and we'll talk about the situations here in a second. First off, you have to use that money for what it's allocated for and have proof through receipts. So that money can't come for a long time. So I think some people who really have hope that this organization is here to save the day and to repair and like give back and like fully house people, it's a complete delusion. It does not happen. And we're going to talk about the video in a minute and what I personally believe those crews are here for. So it's not to go rebuild people's homes. They give money for that, and then you spend that money. Now, if you also do a GoFundMe and there is some crossing over, let's say they give you money for rebuild and then you get donation money, they can require you to pay back the FEMA money if they feel like you got enough through donations to fix your house. Then that FEMA money is just a loan and you are required to pay it back. How they track that, do they track it? I don't know. Maybe it falls through the cracks. Who knows? The other money it's the same. Like you have to show receipts if you get money for things inside your home. So to think like, oh, well, people are going to get about $80,000. That's a lot of money. That's not what they're going to get. And let me kind of explain, like boots on the ground. $50 million is the cost to build. I don't know if it's one of those facilities you just saw or if it's for all three. I haven't been able to confirm that, but the number is $50 million. $50 million. We're building these out. We're on week 5. The people coming in there are going to be crew that are staying there. My guess, and from what I've seen, these are to possibly rebuild infrastructure in the way of roads, to get critical mining companies back up and running because they are gone. This is my assumption. We're going to see the work being done on infrastructure, not on people's homes, because they don't do that. They just give you a check. So, and I feel like it's really important for me to thoroughly explain that, because there's this weird idea, so for some reason, that you just get a new home from FEMA. Like, they just come in and buy everything and put you in a brand new home and you're all safe and you're ready to go. And that's not what happens. And the problem with thinking that is that then groups and other organizations, we're not advocating for people to get back into their homes. I could care less about new roads, right? A lot of these roads used to be nice asphalt roads that we traveled. They're not anymore. They are like my driveway, bumpy rock roads that locals and volunteers rebuilt. That's who rebuilt the roads. FEMA didn't come in and rebuild the roads. So the only reason people can get in and out of these areas that have gone through complete destruction and now have bridges again because their bridges were washed out and their roads were washed out, the only reason they can go back to work and they can leave those areas is because, and they still don't have power and water in most of those areas, by the way, is because locals and volunteers came here and they slept in their cars or they slept in people's yards. Like, I had people sleep in my yard this week. They didn't come here and build $50 million facility, so they had tornado shelters in case the weather got bad in an area where we don't get tornadoes hardly ever. Yeah, they didn't do that. They just camped and slept in their cars so that they could help people get roads so that they could go back to work, because we actually have to work in order to pay bills and keep our homes, right? And keep food on the table. So those roads are that infrastructure. Like, who cares about asphalt roads? And again, I'm assuming that's what they're coming in to do, is help with some of that stuff. I really have no idea what they're coming to do because I don't see them doing anything. And I'm networked in with a lot of different organizations that are doing a lot of work on the ground, and they don't see them doing anything other than sitting in buildings, helping people fill out paperwork that a lot of times gets denied, and then they have to do it all over again. That's the boots on the ground. If you want to know what FEMA boots on the ground looks like, that's what it looks like here. So the situations, you have a couple. Like, if we were to lose this house, we have jobs, we have savings, we have ways to get a loan, right? If it wasn't completely destroyed, I could take a home equity loan out because we have equity built in this house because we've been here a long time, and we were able to do that. We were able to build equity on this home. So I could get a home equity loan and I could use that money to refinish it. And maybe I would be given some money from FEMA. I wouldn't take it, but maybe, that's a thing. And then I could get some volunteers because there's so many of them. Like, I just love it. And I would totally fully embrace anybody that would be willing to help me independently, because I wouldn't want to do the other that I just mentioned. And we would be fine. And my brother's home, I think I shared this in a live or somewhere, but he was part of one of the hurricanes. And that happened. They had this once in a 1,000-year flood in his area. Just like everything came together for that particular area to really suffer, and lost everything in his home. Very similar. The house was still standing. Everything had to be gutted down to the studs. So what do you have in that situation? He had the means to go buy a camper and put it on their property and get it set up to keep his family safe. He's networked into the community. So he knows a ton of people that'll get to him quickly and prioritize him, because they're friends, they're networked in the community. He had insurance money in that case because they did have flood insurance that covered it. All the best case scenarios, like, he had everything going for him in that situation, and it still took many months to be back into their home and be secure in their home. And then even, I would say, up to a year before everything was back to normal and cleaned up on their property. So it takes time. It takes a lot of time, and you've got situations where there isn't housing here. And so he mentioned keeping people in hotels. Friends, first off, we don't have hotels. We have hotels downtown a little bit. I mean, there's a few, but we don't have hotels on every street. There is not a single hotel in the town I live in. There's not one in the town across from me. There might be a small one in Mars Hill because it's a college town. I can't think of it if it's there. I mean, it's not like a Holiday Inn. When I lived in Florida, every other corner you had a Holiday Inn or some kind of, we don't have those here. And then if we do have them, they're in more of the hub of Asheville or further out. I know some people were going all the way to South Carolina to stay in hotels when this started. I mean, that's not a realistic option. If you have property here, a lot of people have animals, for one, because we are a more rural homesteading kind of community. They're not leaving their properties because you've got animals and you've got your property and you've got your job and you're going to go stay in a hotel in South Carolina. Like, how do you go to work? So the hotel thing is ridiculous, first off. I know they're working, and some people here are working to try and get FEMA connected to Airbnbs to bring the two together. There's going to be some that are willing to do that, and there are going to be many who aren't. And I don't fault the ones who aren't, honestly, because I'm not going to dive down into that, but it's just the reality. And are they going to have people using those Airbnbs? Right now, probably not. Like, I wouldn't come to this area and visit. You can't. One of the things they're trying to get people downtown and visiting, and I don't want to hurt tourism in our area by saying this, but the water's not clean. And I made this mistake. I went to my gym and I filled up a water bottle with our filtration system, and I was talking to the owner, and she reminded me that they're still on a boil only alert. And I just did not even cross my mind, and I've had some serious tummy issues for the last couple of days. So, keep that in mind. Like, you're getting food from restaurants. And again, like, we want to build back the businesses here, but you got to have a lot of trust in that facility, because you cook with water and you wash dishes with water, and everything requires water to stay sanitary. Are they boiling everything that touches food and touches the things you're putting in your mouth? That's it. Yeah. So there's situations like that where you have means and you're going to get your house rebuilt. And you're probably going to have a lot of volunteers because you're going to be networked in the community. There is, I hate to use the word privilege, but there is people that are more established have better access to help. Then you've got a different group of people. And you've got people who maybe had a trailer home and they own their land. And it was them, and maybe their grown kids are staying with them, because housing is a real problem here. There's a lot. We already had a housing issue. Quantity and affordability were already a huge thing. And so you've got these multi-generational families living together like they used to, because that's how people afforded to live and how they lived well and were able to thrive. And now the trailer is gone, right? So we've got the land, but you don't have any equity in that situation. You're not going to get $42,500 from FEMA in that situation typically, because the value of what was lost, that would be way more than the value of what was lost if they do a current market value on some of these. You're certainly not going to get $42,500 for the contents in that building, not to mention you can't even prove what was in that building. So that's a whole nother situation. So these people are going to get small checks, and that's it. Like, thanks, nice dealing with you, the end. And that's what I'm currently hearing right now. Like, situations where it's nobody's helping us. We don't really know what to do. We don't have an option. One particular situation keeps coming to the shed shop, and I haven't been able to cross paths yet, but I'm working on it. And it's like trying to find a solution there on their own, but they can't actually afford the monthly payment to get the shed. We will totally take care of that. I just got to connect with this person and start to rebuild that relationship. But I've been able to hear the stories of a lot of people like this. One other situation, if you are in a rental situation, it's complicated because there are no rentals. So one girl I spoke with, she's a mother, hasn't had a lot of connection to her son because they have shared custody and she doesn't have anywhere for him to go. But she's staying in a rental, and the rent was on a discount, but now it's going back up, and the going back up is double, and it's not affordable. And I don't fault the landlords of the rentals. Like, it costs a lot to own a property these days, and so they have to try and get the money to keep their property and pay their bills. So there's a lot of those situations going on, and it makes me think, like, if we took $50 million and instead of building out this facility that has tornado shelters and all of this cush stuff, this brand new temporary housing for these people, if instead of doing all that, spending all that time doing that and all of that money, if we put that money into the hands of the people who need it to rebuild their homes, and in these groups and these organizations that are not just willing to come do it, they'll do it for free. But if you funded like the supplies and the materials, we could get the housing thing solved. We could like solve this so quickly if the money and the efforts weren't being wasted. And that's what they are. It's a waste. And it's called disaster equity. And I see it all over the place. And I've had some people reach out to me, and you start to talk and it's like, wait a minute. And it's real hard not to avoid it. I was talking to my husband and I was like, if we went out and took videos of disaster zones, not so much now, but like in the first few weeks, if we spent our time doing that, we could have made a ton of money on YouTube just by going out and filming. And a lot of people are doing that. So be careful what you're watching, because it's harming the locals. And I do think it's important that I show you guys what's really going on. And so you will see clips, but that's why I only do them in like a B-roll, which means I like show clips, and some people are like, show more. And I get it. We want to see what's really going on, but we also don't want to like harm the people involved. And so a lot of them have become very closed off to outsiders or even to people helping, because so many people are coming into those areas just to video, just to profit. It's called disaster equity. There's groups, even religious groups, I've had contact me where once I got talking to them, like they want to come into the area and it's like, we want to help and lead and go this route with you. But then when you really get down to the bottom of it, there's an ulterior motive there to grow a ministry that might not align with what I would believe in. Like they have an ulterior. Is it evil? No. But it's still an ulterior motive. And it's just part of disaster equity. And so you got to be real careful. And you got to be careful, like I have to be careful to navigate it myself, even sharing content about this. And so that is what that organization is, in my opinion. It feeds their jobs. Got 700 state, what did they call them? The FEMA representatives and other government, what did they say? Not to mention like paying. So we're talking about $50 million to build either one or three. I don't really know. And then you're paying employees full-time jobs, and you're feeding and you're supplying whatever they're doing on that property. Who knows? I mean, look at some of the trucks that they're hauling in. And, I'm not going to go political on that. There's one side that says get rid of them, and then the other side's like against getting rid of them. I could care less about the political side of it. The reality is it's absolutely ridiculous, unnecessary, and it's disaster equity, and they're profiting and keeping an organization alive. It's like feeding yourself with your own funds. Like, let's take all the money, create an organization, and the money funds the organization, and we take 90% of the pot, or even if it's 70% of the pot, we'll even be generous. Let's say they take 50% of the pot and give the other 50 out. What's the point? Why do we need 50% of that pot to go to feed the beast system that isn't actually doing anything here? Like, they're not here. They're not doing anything except for building a cozy place for themselves to stay. So the last 3 days, I'll take you back. We've had people here volunteering, drove on their own money, drove from so many different places. Kentucky, Alabama, brought their own gear, volunteered their time. They're sleeping in my yard in tents, and we were able to get a lot done on our sheds. We're going to start delivering them this week. Praying about where the ministry goes from here. I would really like to lean in to going smaller and really helping some of those families I mentioned where they are not getting help and they're not going to get help. How do we give them the help they need? Like, fill that gap. right? We can raise the money. We can do this independently. We can volunteer time. We've got so many people wanting to give money, so many people wanting to give time. So really taking those assets and putting them to securing someone back on their land in a safe, secure, real home. We've got the tiny homes as a temporary solution because real housing is going to take a minute, and we need people to be safe and secure and moving into that phase. So I'm really praying about that and just not throwing out so many sheds in all these different directions. And actually there's a couple of ministries now doing this, quite a few actually, and they are operating more on the larger scale with displaced like renters, people who no longer have property or were renting, and giving them places to stay. And you know why we got to do this? Do you know why there's several of us out here doing this and putting out hundreds of sheds? Because there's no hotels for people to stay in. So, yeah, all that hotel money. That's interesting. There's a lot of sheds going up. There's a lot of land being donated for them to go up. I personally want to lean into going small and going the distance and really helping a couple of individual people. So I'll keep you guys posted on the needs of that, and maybe we can work together to sponsor a family and get someone secure, because at the end of the day, that's really what matters. Like being the hands and feet of Jesus, and we're gonna help those in the most need. Like, heaven forbid this house goes, we can figure this out. Some volunteers, amazing. We could figure it out. But there are people out there who can't, and that's where I want to lean into those families. So I'm going to take you back to days 1 and 2, give you a glimpse of what we've been doing. We are also starting a second project over at the shed shop. Sweet Wayne, can't say no. Please stop sending stuff right now. Hold it in your area, because there's so much stuff, people are turning it away. And then there's a couple of people who won't turn it away. And I told him yesterday, like, you can say no. And his response was, I can't say no. You know, with the sweetest, biggest heart, he can't turn it away. It's become a huge problem. And we have a ton of stuff that's sitting out in the weather. And, you know, rain's coming this week. So I'm helping to organize a volunteer group. I can participate in it, but I cannot head it up. I just don't have that time to add into another ministry. But I found an amazing woman at my church and another volunteer, and we're meeting today to come up with a plan to get those donated items secure, get the trash out. Like, people have donated, again, disaster equity. And they've like used it as a way to drop off disgusting mattresses that the dump won't take. And so now we have mattresses that look like pillows. It's unheard of. I can't tell you the piles and piles of expired food that has come in. We can't give that out to people safely. It all has to go to the dump. So not only do we have this excess, but we have this excess of clothes that are not appropriate. Nobody needs a suit from 1970 to be donated, okay? Like, buy a new jacket, buy wool socks, buy wool beanies. These people in the mountains, first off, we don't have the jobs that we ever need that kind of stuff. Never need to dress like that. And we don't wear we don't wear a lot of clothes. You'll see my clothes have holes in them. People in these communities aren't into fashion and design and all of those things. They wear clothing that fits the environment to do the jobs at hand, which means we need wool, and they don't need 300 pairs of cheap socks. 1 pair of wool socks, 2 maybe, because you can hand wash them, and while one's drying, you can put on the other. 1 beanie, 1 good wool beanie cap is all that someone needs. A good, rugged outdoor coat that can keep you warm and withstand doing a lot of work. Like, that's what we need. We do not need people cleaning out their closets. Just garbage bags full of people's worn out clothing. And it's become a real problem. And now, we need basically full-time employees, free volunteers to come fix this problem. And it is upsetting too. It's like, I hate to not be grateful when people are offering so much stuff. And I know the intention is good, but be mindful if you are donating, like find out the specific needs. We have very, very specific needs. And for a while it was heaters, and so many heaters came in, but now what's happened is people are actually going to all these facilities and taking all the good stuff and reselling it. So there's that issue. And we don't have the manpower to manage that. Like, who's going to come and vet people to make sure they actually need it? So it's just a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. Let's go back to days 1 and 2.
Well, we're here assessing, and we're going to start.
We're going to try and get it organized and indoors before the winter. Yeah, we're getting it together. Okay, so we've got all this to deal with. We're thinking this building is easy to tarp the back, and the sides are pretty covered. So if we just get the back tarped, and then we're gonna have to get some tables. I don't know if churches or someone can loan us tables for a while.
What I would.
And shelves. We've got this building. We can organize his stuff and get it. It gets. I mean, like, this is hand sanitizer. I can't even comprehend. So these are the buckets for it. That to me needs to go to some kind of medical facility. I don't know if the nursing home down the street.
I don't know that either.
This right here, this is an option to use as storage. Hey, good morning, friends. So today we have a little bit of a different day. I have internet friends who are here camping on our property, and we are going to do a building blitz for the shed project. So what happened is someone on the internet, sweet, lovely woman, reached out saying they were coming into town some are from Alabama, some are from Virginia, crew of 6 to help, and was looking for somewhere to help. And I originally was like, oh, there's this building blitz going on with another amazing woman who's doing all sorts of things for the community. She's a wonderful realtor. I'll link her here because she's the person to call if you want to move to this area, and you do want to move to this area. I can say that with certainty after going through this experience. Our community is strong. But I was sending them there, but I'm really struggling to get my sheds finished. I had an idea. I am not a contractor. These went from like, let's buy people a shed, and we call them tractor sheds, if you know what I mean, we just call them tractor sheds. That's what we need to call them. So I had that idea, and then it was like, oh, this would be better if it was insulated, because then it's warm. And then it was like, well, if it's insulated, it's not really safe to be in there and breathe that, so let's drywall them. And then it was like, well, let's finish them out because they look much nicer. And really, the reality is some people are going to need a tractor shed for a very, very long time, because the truth is nobody's coming to help right now. And I'm getting just flooded with new calls every day of people who are in need. And we're at day 36 today, but what's happened, I think there was this grace period of staying with people or staying in temporary shelters, and just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen and to get funds to begin fixing your home. And there's two situations here, and they're both pretty dire. And the truth is they're not coming. And so that's what people are saying now. I'm not getting help. I don't have any solutions for this. So that's what we're working on. Okay, so I just went outside and talked to my new friends. It's beautiful out. We're having a lovely day. It's probably going to be warm. We're having an unseasonably warm time. We still have not had rain. We had a little sprinkle, but no rain. So we're going to be working hard. I'm just waiting on these frittatas, and we're going to hit it hard today. Got someone volunteering from Tennessee who's helping us with electrical. We just have a bunch of crews. I just decided, I don't even know where I left off in the story, but basically I was sending them to another building blitz. And then I was trying to build sheds on my own, thinking I'm going to have to learn how to be a contractor. And then I was like, why am I not getting people to help me? So I pulled them back, and they were like, sure, we'd love to help you. And they're sleeping in my yard, camping, and they've got a fire going right now. And we've got all sorts of people in, and we're hopefully going to knock, I need like 11 out ASAP, so then we can start to work on our backlog. 11 tractor sheds. Are you gonna put it there? Since we have it. Okay, we're at Lowe's. That's our pile. We got to get 50 sheets of drywall. We're putting some windows in some of them. They didn't have windows, so I'm looking for that trim piece. And we've got the inside trim. And because none of us are great mudders, we are gonna texture paint the inside. And then do like a unfinished wood trim, which I actually love the look of that. That's how my basement is.
YouTube too. What's that old thing? World Star. World Star, what's that? Oh, that was an old.
And they're all at different stages of completion. And so this one would be the closest to done. We still gotta add trim along the windows and the baseboards and paint. And we're gonna throw some thick paint on the floor. So, you know, oh, and then some railings for any lofts that are gonna be used for possible sleeping. Hey friends, it's the next day, and my amazing new friends, the ones who came to volunteer, are packing up their stuff. They're gonna go finish out a shed, which is so amazing. They wanted to like have a start to finish on this one they were working on. And so they're gonna go do that. We work in our church. My son plays music. We've just got jobs in our church. So we're going to church this morning, but I am making an orzo pasta salad to bring for lunch. And after church, I've got a crew of the young girls who are gonna come help paint. And I really like that the children have been able to be involved in this project. Because if our life is gonna be chaotic and crazy and different, you know, just being able to have them come alongside. My boys have really taken on to the construction side. They will just go and work and come back when they're ready. And the girls are gonna paint today, some girls from our church. So, you know, that's sweet. It's like the little blessings in the chaos and in the hardness of it. All right, and my kitchen's a mess, and I've stopped using my good camera because it requires skill and things, and we're just moving too fast-paced, you know. Thanks for watching my videos, kind of in the rough state. But It's not about that. It's about helping share how to create a prepared home and live in a prepared home or live a prepared life and getting through this new season of life, this like hiccup that we were talking yesterday around the fire. And I was sharing how, I think one of the hard parts is some people are very normal. Even in this area, some people just really don't understand what's happened and the loss of life and the exposure to things and all of that. I think some people go about daily life with blinders on, is what I've realized. And then some are really waking up to what's really going on, across the world and like paying attention and starting to think differently and act differently. And it's great because, the world and the news or whomever wants us to believe we're so super divided. But we were talking last night, like overall, it's so many people are coming together during these times, different beliefs, different thoughts, but everyone's starting to recognize things and go, wait, something doesn't seem right here. And I'm talking about the world as a whole, not just our situation here. And just coming together and like changing their priorities. And so that's been really cool. It's been a really cool experience to see that. And I'm tired and I totally lost my train of thought, what I was talking about. So with this salad, it is my Bona Fortuna oil, which I've talked about. Olive oil, be careful with what you're buying. Buy a good one, and I'll make a video on how to test that. I'm going to do like a whole bunch of samples and show you guys. But it's orzo pasta. I buy the big bag from Azure. And then I added the Bona Fortuna, lemon juice, pine nuts, and then we're going to go out to the garden and get some greens. And now I remember my original train of thought was, we're not going back to normal anytime soon. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Like some people are living a very normal life. But for some of us, our lives are very intertwined into the disaster zones. So we use our town. It's where my natural grocery store is. It's where my church is. It's where we go for coffee when we need to get out of the house. When the kids want to get out and go, just have a different change of scenery for school, do their school. It's where we walk to get some exercise. It's where we buy our clothes at the thrift shop. It's our post office. It's where I get money at the ATM. It's our hardware store. It's our mercantile. When I need gifts, it's where I would Christmas shop, birthdays, all those things. It's a lot of things, and those things are all gone. And then outside of that, the other areas are where we hiked and where we camped and where we spent time with friends. And so it's been, that part makes it really heavy because it has changed for us very dramatically. And now I'm coughing. And it's going to be a long time. Oh, it's beautiful out. These weed. I brought lunch. We can eat over there. Well, I just brought pasta salad. No. Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Yeah, I brought lunch.
Oh, yay. That's exciting.
Pasta with a chijimusai.
With a what?
Chijimusai.
Now, what is that?
That's that green I was holding this morning.
Okay.
So hopefully you guys like it.
That'll be amazing.
That's all I have. So it's that or nothing. There's Mr. Wayne. Hi. I'm filming you, you're filming me. We're like,